Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom. Welcome to my lunch break because I want to talk about Daniel Stendel, who has been fired or parted company, as the statement said, with Barnsley just 11 games into the season. We always identify this international break as the twitchy trigger finger one for chairman. It falls in just enough time to get someone in ready to prepare for another transfer window, etc. We often see a lot of managers go. There may be more. Who knows? We'll see what happens at Stoke. But Neil Harris went. Previous Jan Siewert went ages ago for Huddersfield. Daniel Stendel has been joined, or rather has joined those two guys. He's the third manager to start the season at a championship club to already be out of a job. Let me know in the comments what you think the total will be by the end of the season. Stendel was appointed in June of 2018 by Barnsley. He took over from Jose Moraes, who oversaw their relegation down from the championship with a record of 13 points in 15 games. So not horrible and horrific, but bad enough to take them down and bad enough to only be there from February through to June. In comes Daniel Stendel, as I say, June 2018 for the start of the 18-19 season. Barnsley down into League One, and it was an absolutely brilliant season. 91 points, didn't quite hit the 2 points per game, but did hit second spot there in a division that contained that much fancied Sunderland team as well. Just off of Luton on top spot, but brilliant stuff to secure an immediate promotion straight back up to the championship, and a manager who goes into the club and from the word go is winning. Now that League One team was built on several faces who are all going to disappear in the summer. Adam Davies was the keeper. You had centre halves Ethan Pinnock and Liam Lindsay, 52 and 46 appearances for each of them. Alex Mowat was strong in central midfield, I think 8 goals from him. And up top, Kiefer Moore and Corley Woodrow, 19 goals each for those two guys. So you can see kind of the core of Stendel's League One promotion team. Up they come, and out goes Pinnock to Brentford, Lindsay to Stoke, so that's the two centre-backs. Got reasonable money for both of them. Kiefer Moore, one of the 19 goal scorers. Woodrow stays, Moore goes out to Wigan, and Adam Davies goes on a free to Stoke. So there goes the core of the team. Now, whether that's the issue or what happens next is the issue, I don't know. You'll have to let me know in the comments. But in come a lot of young players with not a lot of championship experience. Thomas 20, Schmidt 21, Wilkes 20, Anderson 21, Halme 21, Sibic 20, Barra 23, Collins 22, Radlinger, the ripe old age of 26, Diaby 20, Odua 20, Chaplin 22. Sorry, Diaby 21, got that wrong. Huge restock of youngsters. Like I say, not a lot of championship experience. Even those players that came from, Sibic from Wimbledon is coming from a league down. Halme's coming from Leeds reserves. Wilkes is coming from Leeds reserves. Chaplin from Cov, I think. And then obviously the European players as well. So a lot of moving parts here. Strong players out. Young, inexperienced at this level players in. I'm not saying bad players, I'm just saying inexperienced at the grind and the slog that is 46 games, that is 3 game weeks, that is the championship. But the season starts and we'll look at the results after the first game. And Barnsley beat muchly fancied Fulham. They'd signed all of the fabled front three now, although Knockaert was on the bench. They beat them 1-0. They swarm all over them. Luke Thomas gets the early goal. I look at that result and I'm like, oh, wow, didn't see that one coming. I hear Stendel do the interview afterwards, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Another German manager, a la David Wagner or Daniel Farke, is coming into the Championship, and we're going to have to listen to them doing lots of interviews about lots of wins, and they're going to ace it again on that one game's experience. But it then all unravelled very, very quickly after that. Since then, 11 games in all competitions, so I'm including the turnover at home to, was it Carlisle in the League Cup? 11 games, 8 defeats, 3 draws, no wins. Horrible, horrible form. They drew at home to Charlton, who equalised in the 89th minute. I wonder if that's going to be Daniel Stendel's sliding doors moment, where he looks back at that one and says, if we just won that one, maybe the form after that would have been different. There was the draw in the middle of midweek this past week against Derby. That was a 93rd minute equaliser, rescuing that. And what's quite a credible away point at Wigan, because they're very good at home. But other than that, 8 defeats coming. And this past game week is where it all ramped up. As I said, 3-game week. They went into the lead against Brentford in the pouring rain on the Sunday and were undone 3-1. Rescued that point, having led and then equalised in the last minute, having gone behind in the game against Derby, and then 5-1 against Preston away at the weekend. And it was one of those where you could see the game unravelling in that 60 to 75 minute period, where they were up the pitch, they were wide open, they were letting Preston just run straight through them. And then I think it's the last goal where Jaume gives it away and then Civic miscontrols it, and yeah, you can see, oh my God, this team has kind of lost it. Had they lost it in this game, or have they lost it totally? Well, looks like the Barnsley ownership thinks that the team had lost it, full stop, because out goes Stendel, 11 league games in. He's fairly lucky that Stoke and Huddersfield were so terrible, although Huddersfield have now edged out of it, haven't they? That was always the story at the bottom of the league. How can these two parachute teams be so bad? But now knives sharpened for Stendel, and out he goes. I suppose the direct comparisons you have to make are to Luton and to Charlton, the teams that came up with them, and it was the top 3 that came up from League One, including Charlton, in the playoffs. Look, all of these teams lost players, so we can't just say it's losing players that's the issue. But I think the overarching, the whole business strategy is a bit different when we look at the two. Luton obviously lost their 2 brilliant fullbacks, Justin and Stacey, to Leicester and Bournemouth, but they spent money on a keeper. Okay, he's not looked that good so far. And then the rest of it was this Championship experience. Craney went up with Sheffield United last season. Tunnicliffe played forever for Millwall, didn't he? Butterfield, he's been around forever at Derby. McManaman from Wigan. Bree, who was at Barnsley, went to Villa, was on loan at my team, Ipswich, last season. They brought players in that knew the league, kept the nucleus, didn't change their playing style despite losing the 2 fullbacks. And then when you look at Charlton, yes, out goes Dykesdale, out goes Aribo, out goes Bauer. Big losses, creative player, your fullback and wingback, and your captain, all gone. But again, Championship hardened players coming in for frees, for loans, hungry young loanees, Gallagher, Cullen, Lecco and Field from West Brom. People that just knew the job they were going into a little bit better than a lot of these Barnsley players do. So that would appear to be what Charlton, certainly, because they look very comfortable. And Luton still seem to be performing to their potential, playing fairly well. Not a massive number of points more than Barnsley, but certainly not the type of defeats that Barnsley have been experiencing. The confusion for me with all of this is, having sold the best players from the League One team and then replaced them with a lot of unknowns, all those decisions have to be backed from above. Having done that, why would you then sack the guy? Because those 2 actions are contradictory, aren't they? If you're saying, okay, we're going to take away your best players and we're going to give you a lot of youngsters and you're going to rebuild a new team, well, that's going to take time for the players to settle, adjust to this crazy division, adjust to England to some of them, adjust to first team football for a lot of them. That takes more than 11 games. And I suppose the only excuse is that this strategy, they didn't see it going so terribly wrong. But I'm not quite sure what they expected. We saw this at my team, Ipswich, where Mick McCarthy's team was ripped apart fairly swiftly by Paulhurst, and again a lot of players with not a lot of championship experience were thrown in. The best players were gone, and we all know the result of that. So you would worry that without some patience and without at least some continuity, look, Mowatt's still there, Woodrow is still there. That's two strong players, the chief progressive passer and one of the top goal scorers, that with the manager as well, you could then over time shape that around. And okay, it may take 3 months, it may take 6 months, it may even take a last day escape, it may even take a relegation, for goodness sake, and you then come back. But what I don't quite understand about this decision, and if you're a Barnsley fan you'll know more about this than me, is was it that bad that it wasn't gonna have an upside later down the line? Remember, as I read out the names of all those players, all youngsters, all probably going to be better than they are right now in 6 months, in a year, who knows? And I would suspect the team would be better than they are now. So the bosses at Barnsley, either they've got somebody lined up, and, you know, obviously we don't speak of such things, but either they've got somebody lined up or they deemed it that it was bad enough already that they couldn't see the upside and they need someone else to take this on. It looks on the surface a bit of a stiff decision, especially given the guy comes in and he's basically won for his entire career at Barnsley, other than these 11 games. Okay, Preston looked a bit embarrassing last week, but that's my trouble with this one, unless, of course, there is someone waiting in the wings. What next for Stendel? Well, we say about these European managers, they do have more of an upside often than English managers in the same position who you think, oh, they're done, you know, they'll go and do a hard job in League One and, you know, whatever. I guess the multilingual thing helps. They can go manage in other countries, etc. But I guess if anyone wants a League One promotion, maybe they might look at Stendel having done that last season. So I would suspect he's young, his career will be okay. In terms of Barnsley, well, they've recruited European now twice, haven't they? And they've recruited young, even when you look back to Paul Heckingbottom, 2 or 3 times now. So you would think that many people watching this video won't have heard of Barnsley's next manager, that he might come from left field. We don't see a grizzled old hand coming in, do we? I don't know if championship clubs do that anymore. I think as grizzled and old as it gets is Gary Monk now. So you know, we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be a hard one, isn't it? You've got now someone who's going to come in with a lot of young, inexperienced players, out of confidence and down at the bottom of the league, and be expected to, I guess, avoid relegation. So I would be concerned if I was a Barnsley fan, unless there's a plan. But the behaviour from June onwards in flogging all your best players, replacing them with inexperienced ones, which is fine, that's okay, if you then give the manager the time. Obviously, the example we always cite, which is the absolute utopia of this, is Norwich, where a hell of a lot of players went in, but they gave him the season, didn't they? And half of those players had already been there a long while. Then they added a couple of really good players, and then away they went, and we know where they are now. That took time, and that took some bad results and some pain as you built through the team. So if they weren't prepared to give that time, I don't understand why they did it in the first place. But again, I will reiterate, I'm watching from the outside. If you are a Barnsley fan, you might have a better explanation than me. You might have lost the dressing room. Something might have happened in the background. It might be untenable. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So Stendel out, third manager of the year to go. Open position at Millwall, open position at Barnsley. It certainly doesn't help when there's two clubs searching for a manager at the same time, because they may be canvassing the same candidates. Although, like I say, you'd think the profile Millwall one might be quite different to the profile Barnsley one. I would love your feedback in the comments on this decision. Do you agree with me that if you're gonna let someone retool with a load of young players and sell the best players, you need to give them more than 11 games? Or am I just being a bit fanciful about that and it was too bad? And can Barnsley avoid relegation now with a new manager coming in after 11 games? Let me know what you think in the comments. As usual, subscribe, ring the bell. We are live streaming every Thursday, every Monday, previewing and reviewing the Championship. Great bunch of people subscribing now. Get involved in that, especially if you're a Barnsley fan and you haven't before. I don't think we've got many, so come and get involved in the live streams. Follow on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. We've had a great weekend of people following, which has been fantastic. This will always be free on YouTube, but I do have a Patreon. One day, wouldn't it be lovely if I didn't have to dash out in my lunch break to do the videos? And that will only give you guys who have already subscribed better content. So I've set up a Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom, where you can help me out, maybe make this something more viable than just a fun hobby, which I do love. But hey, wouldn't it be great to be able to spend more time on it in the future? Thank you for watching. Get your thoughts in. Daniel Stendel out of Barnsley. Finito, gone. Third one of the season. Thanks for watching. Over and out.